ActionScript 3 has a robust and flexible event model. In this lesson, we'll explore how to listen for and respond to events within ActionScript. So here I have a basic shell of a class. There's really nothing going on here yet. And what we're going to want to do is, in this case, we'll set this up to listen for mouse events, specifically click events from the mouse. And based upon the X and Y position of the cursor, what we'll do is trace out those numbers in the console window. So to do this, in our constructor function, we're going to add an event listener to the stage. When we refer to the stage in ActionScript, we're talking about basically the visible area that you can see when you run a SWF or an AIR file or something like that. It's your visible workspace. So here we'll say stage dot, and we're going to add an event listener. So what type of event listener? You can see here that there's all sorts of different events that we can use, and you can pick any one you want. In this case, again, we're going to use mouse event.click to detect mouse clicks. And you can see here that when I select this, up in my imports, Flash Builder automatically knows to import flash.events.mouseEvent for us. If you're using a different IDE, you may need to type that in yourself. So the next thing we need to say is, well, we're going to listen for this event, a mouse click, but what happens when we detect it? And this is where we have to declare a specific function to invoke. So I'm going to call this mouse clicked. Okay, so mouse clicked doesn't actually exist yet, so we have to create it. So I'll create a new private function called mouse clicked. And here, because we are actually listening for an event, that event and information associated with it is going to be passed through into our function, and then we can respond to it. So to do that, we set up a little argument here, and we type it to mouse event, simply because that's what is actually invoking this particular function. If we were to use a different type of event, then we would pass that through here. We'll set the data type to void for this function's return data. And within the function, we're going to simply trace out the X and Y position of our mouse cursor. So to do this, we're going to use this little event that's being passed through. So if I say e.stageX, that's going to give us the X position of my cursor on the stage. And if I say e.stageY, that will give us the Y cursor, or the Y position of the cursor on our stage. So this will trace both out. When using a trace statement, you can just use a comma if you're spitting out more than one value. In this case, it would basically be the same thing as if I said plus space plus. So it's sort of shorthand for putting a space between the two variables that are spit out. So let's debug this and have a look at what happens. So this white area here is obviously my stage, and you can see my mouse cursor, but I haven't actually clicked anything yet. So in the console down here, we don't see any data. But if I start up here, this is pretty close to the 0, 0 position, the top left. And if I click, you can see that we're getting 7, 4. And as I move further away, the X and Y properties are kind of matching up with where you would assume I would be. And as I move closer, they're obviously closer to 0, 0. So it works perfectly. And again, there are many, many types of events core to Flash Player and AIR in ActionScript, and you can use any of them. In this case, we've just simply chosen mouse event.click because it's simple to illustrate how events work that way.